Welcome to RidgeLife. In today's lessons from the Ridge, we're going to talk about Numbers 14, 1 through 45. This is Moses and Aaron's fateful journey through the wilderness. As we walk today on the ridge of the hill country here in western Tennessee, I'm going to be talking about that trip that Moses took the people of Israel on. And everyone knows the story coming out of Egypt, the Exodus, parting of the Red Sea, and that journey to the Promised Land, the land of milk and honey. But there's so much more to it that really is not talked about. And it's discussed in Numbers. Numbers is a book of the Bible that really gets overlooked. There's a lot of good things to learn from that book. What we're going to do today is get off the trail here on the ridge of the hill country, go into the wilderness, and I'm going to read from Numbers. I'll stop at certain areas and read a bit, and then we'll continue to walk on, and then we'll stop and read some more. And by the time we get done with this journey, we'll have gone over Numbers 14, 1 through 45, and had a little discussion. I hope it works out. I hope you're not lost along the way, and I hope we don't get lost along the way as well. So let's head on our journey. This is our pine area. It's along the top of the ridge with valleys, deep valleys on either side. I'm trying to move the camera too quickly for y'all. I apologize. But it's a piney area. You can see all the pine needles on the ground. It's kind of like what brings it together. And then it opens up when we get to the other side into hardwoods. And then we have bottom swampy area to the left and field areas to the right here. Just a beautiful country, but it gets so dense and treacherous in some areas. When we get up here, it'll be a good spot to start on our reading. Then all the congregation lifted up their voices and cried, and the people wept that night. All the sons of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron, and the whole congregation said to them, "What would that we had died in the land of Egypt, or that we had died in this wilderness? Why is the Lord bringing us into this land to fall by the sword? Our wives and our little ones will become plunder. Would it not be better for us to return to Egypt?" So they said to one another, "Let us appoint a leader and return to Egypt." Then Moses and Aaron fell on their faces in the presence of all the assembly of the congregation and the sons of Israel, Joshua the son of Nun and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, of those who had spied out the land, tore their clothes, and they spoke to all the congregation of the sons of Israel, saying, "The land which we had passed through to spy out is an exceedingly good land. If the Lord is pleased with us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which flows with milk and honey. Only do not rebel against the Lord, and do not fear the people of the land, for they will be our prey. Their protection has been removed from them, and the Lord is with us. Do not fear them." But all the congregation said to stone them with stones. Then the glory of the Lord appeared in the tent of meeting to all the sons of Israel. The Lord said to Moses, "How long will this people spurn me? How long will they not believe in me? Despite all the signs which I have performed in their midst, I will smite them with pestilence and dispossess them. I will make you a nation greater and mightier than they." But Moses said to the Lord, "Then the Egyptians will hear of it. For by your strength you brought up this people from their midst, and they will tell it to the inhabitants of this land. They have heard that you, O Lord, are in the midst of this people. For you, O Lord, are seen eye to eye, while your cloud stands over them, and you go before them in a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. Now if you slay these people as one man, then the nations who have heard of your fame will say, 'Because the Lord could not bring this people the land to which he had promised them by oath, therefore he slaughtered them in the wilderness.' But now I pray, let the power of the Lord be great, just as you have declared. The Lord is slow to anger and abundant in loving kindness, forgiving iniquity and transgression, but he will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generations. Pardon, I pray, this iniquity of his people according to their greatness of your loving kindness, just as you have also forgiven the people from Egypt even until now." So the Lord said, "I have pardoned them according to your word, but indeed, as I live, all the earth will be filled with the glory of the Lord. Surely all the men who have seen my glory and my signs which I performed in Egypt, and then in the wilderness, yet have put me to the test these 10 times, and have not listened to my voice, shall by no means see the land which I swore to their fathers, nor shall any of those who spurned me see it. But my servant Caleb, because he has had a different spirit, and has followed me fully, I will bring into the land which he entered, and his descendants shall take possession of it. Now the Amalekites and the Canaanites live in the valleys. Turn tomorrow and set out to the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, How long shall I bear this evil congregation who are grumbling against me? I have heard the complaints of the sons of Israel, which they are making against me. Say to them, As I live, says the Lord, just as you have spoken in my hearing, so I will surely do to you. Your corpses will fall in the wilderness, and all your numbered men, according to your complete number, from 20 years old and upward, who have grumbled against me, surely you shall not come into the land which I swore to you to settle you, except Caleb the son of Jephunneh and Joshua the son of Nun. Your children, however, whom you said I would become prey, who said you would become a prey, I will bring them in, and they will know the land which you have rejected. But as for you, your corpses will fall in this wilderness. Your sons shall be shepherds for 40 years in the wilderness, and they will suffer for your unfaithfulness, until your corpses lie in the wilderness, according to the number of days in which you spied out the land. 40 days for every day you shall bear your guilt, a year and even 40 years, and you will know my opposition. I, the Lord, have spoken. Surely this I will do to all this evil congregation who are gathered together against me. In this wilderness they shall be destroyed, and they will die. As for the men whom Moses sent to spy out the land, who returned and made all the congregation grumble against him by bringing out a bad report concerning that land, even those men who brought out the very bad report of the land died by a plague before the Lord. But Joshua the son of Nun and Caleb the son of Jephunneh remained alive, out of those men who went to spy out the land. When Moses spoke these words to all the sons of Israel, the people mourned greatly. In the morning, however, they rose up early and went to the ridge of the hill. That is our first part of Numbers 14, 1 through 45, and there's a lot that went on. We just have a short bit left to read. Let's walk and talk about what we read so far, and then we'll finish up the end here shortly. So Moses had brought the Israelites out of Egypt, the great Exodus, the parting of the Red Sea, and the miracles of the clouds by day and the pillar of fire by night guiding them on the way they should go to the promised land. And it was all written out for them. He provided food for them, manna to eat. It wasn't steak, it wasn't lobster, but it was sustenance, and it was good to eat. And he provided all the, everything they needed to get to where they would go. But it was just a tough journey. And a lot of them grumbled, that they thought that they would be there sooner, that there would be better things to eat. And they started, saying they needed a better God, because our God is departing us. He told us to leave Egypt. Man, we should go back to Egypt and see all the things that, that the pharaohs gave us. At least they clothed us and they protected us from the wild animals. And here we are out, with no protection. It was just scary for many of them. And they doubted. But in their doubt became disobedience to the Lord. He had given them everything they needed, and again, just they couldn't follow what he had said to do. And Moses was just distraught, and Aaron, who was seen as a leader, was trying to talk to him, say, hey, we got to change some things. And when the Lord came and told them that, that he was displeased with what was going on, because the people were so fearful of the land that they were promised was overrun with their enemy, the Canaanites and the Amalekites. And how were they to overcome this great enemy when they were, a tired and weak people? They kept losing their faith, even though they saw 10 miracles happen. They They lost faith. And it's just like this tree right here. This thing, look at that. Is that not an odd feature? This tree grows tall. It's a pine tree, but the root comes over there, curves around. It's like a sign from God that, you know, can I go this way? Should I have a place to rest? But I can turn my back to it and just say, you know, it's a natural formation, nothing of it. But turning a blind eye to the signs. I mean, look at that elephant right there. Can y'all see the elephant here? The ear, the tusk, and the trunk going up and around. It's a beautiful sign. So as we continue along this ridge here, in this wilderness, you know, we're told of that the people would die in the wilderness. And look here, I have a large, very large bone. I don't know what that is a bone of, but something died. And no one was to remember it. No one was to mourn whatever that was. And that's what the people of Israel were to do by disobeying the Lord. So the people of Israel were told that they were to do something, and then they would overcome the Canaanites and the Amalekites, but they would have to go a place that they didn't want to go. And they wanted to rush right up and take the enemy and take the land that they were promised. But that's not the plan that God had for them. So in their haste, they decried that, you know, that they were going to go up and do it themselves. So we'll pick up just a little bit earlier than where we finished off a second ago reading. Do not go up, or you'll be struck down before your enemies, for the Lord is not among you. For the Amalekites and the Canaanites will be there in front of you, and you will fall by the sword, inasmuch as you have turned back from the following of the Lord, and the Lord will not be with you. But they went up heedlessly to the ridge of the hill country. Neither the ark of the covenant of the Lord nor Moses left the camp. Then the Amalekites and the Canaanites who lived in that hill country came down and struck them and beat them down as far as Hormah. So we read that they were given the warning to what it took to get to the land of milk and honey. And they could not wait. They could not wait for the Lord. Instead, they wanted to take the path less traveled, go up to the ridge in the wilderness of the hill country, and fight the enemy without the Lord on their side. And it was a deep, dark place that they had no defense against. And there's a lot of deep, dark places like that out in the wilderness. And when you walk alone, you walk unprotected. As we go upon our journeys, we never know what we're going to find. We have a grinner out here, and he could be dangerous. I don't think anybody can hear that. See those teeth? Look at those eyes. Can you hear him? Can you hear him? It's a very dangerous set of teeth. But I know he's not going to harm me. He's not captured, he's not trapped, and he's not playing possum. Let's see what happens. I circle around. Oh. Circle around this way. He follows. The danger follows. But in the face of danger, I can have strength. I can fight the enemy. If I was not commanded to fight, though, I would probably lose. Now, I don't feel led to fight this guy today. Just like the people of Israel were told not to fight the Canaanites. It was not their time, but they choose to fight. And if I did, he could take my finger. But I'm not going to. I'm going to do like God says. To this guy here who's not trapped, we're pretty far away from the barn and the chickens, I'm going to let him live another day. Just like my enemy that I'm not told to fight. So today, I'm going to turn my back on him and walk away. So the Israelites, they went up, and sure enough, they found the enemy, or the enemy, should say, found them, and they slaughtered them. Slaughtered them all. They pushed them down, pushed them down, pushed them down, until the only ones left were the ones that, had retreated or stayed back at the camp. And what was left for them was, for the 40 days that they rebelled, they had to endure a year for every day of that rebellion, which turned out to be 40 years in the wilderness without the protection of God. So as they searched and searched for a place to give them peace, all they found was just desert and desolation, while they had to wait for themselves to die and then their next generation. And only a very few generations, children, actually got to see the promised land. As I'm walking through this deep valley, I kind of feel that sense of being small, just being low. And I see that there's sunlight at the top of that ridge. There's a promise, but the promise is false. The promise is deceit. We were told how to get there. I need to go to the right, go around, and the path to the promised land is there. But instead, I see it in the immediate view, and I'm deceived, and I want to take it. Even though I could fall to my peril, that I would be going against the one that told me how to get where I needed to be. I mean, I end up having to walk through tight spaces that I was never intended to walk. Like that tree there. This is the trunk of that tree at the base. What happened to split that tree to cause it to grow in such a way? So they end up having to retreat away and be consumed by the very thing that they could have easily gone around if it hadn't been for their haste and their unfaithfulness. They had to trudge through trees like this, being cut and torn, when all along the path could have been opened up for them, just like the Red Sea was parted. As we walk through life, we walk through a wide valley like this, and the promise is there. And as we grow in Christ, the way narrows, just like this valley is narrowing and rising. We have to rise up and walk ahead, go through the tight spots, because we can easily get astray. If I was to turn back at the last valley, I would not be heading towards this ridge. And this is the direction I want to go. But you can see it just gets narrower and narrower and narrower until it opens up the top. And that's like our journey with Christ. As we get closer and closer to Him, our walk narrows and narrows and narrows. And we don't really understand, we don't really perceive it being narrowing, because we're so focused on the end journey, on the point of where we're headed. The journey becomes a joy to walk, even though the things around us are getting closer and closer. Then, of course, the day when we've gone up through the narrow path, reached the summit, and seen the glory that surrounds us, it's going to be worth the journey. I mean, and for us, we get to see it. We don't have to wait for our kids to see it after we pass. We just have to be faithful, and we can enjoy this blessing on top of the ridge that was promised to us. It's really amazing out here on the ridge. I have so many of these places that are steep on both sides. They're almost like a natural bridge that runs along and connects two areas. And I just love walking these areas, knowing that it's smooth and flat right here, but if I go left or if I go right, it's very perilous. I mean, I could slip and fall, and if you're on a four-wheeler or side-by-side, it is not something you want to do. But if I walk straight, walk the path I'm given, it's a pretty easy journey. And just like life, we're climbing this hill, thinking that everything's going to be great. Once we get to the top, all our worries will be over with, and then we get to the top, and we see another valley that we're going to have to trudge down through. until we can get to the other side, which always seems so far away. And so as we tread on, we can see sometimes the remnants of those that came before us. This is an old tent, and you can barely make it out. There's a tent right here that I guess it collapsed. It was left out here, and people didn't get to finish their journey, or if they didn't come back. I really don't know the story behind this. But I really don't want to be these type of people that leave things and rush off in a hurry. So as we walk to the tallest point here on our ridge, come upon a sign, a symbol, a dogwood tree blooming in the middle of the forest. It's a beautiful sight. It's the first sign that God gave us a promise, and the promise was fulfilled with the death of Jesus Christ. So we truly are at the top of the ridge here. There's nothing higher than where we are now, and we have this sole promise of springtime, of a new day, of change. You can see that it's winter. It is deep winter. The only thing that's green is the evergreens. Everything else is brown and what appears to be dead. But here at the very top of the ridge is life, is beauty, is a promise. Well, we only went through a very small portion of the ridge. We actually went on just the east side. It's a long journey. It's 40 acres, almost 30 acres back here, 30 plus acres back here, and 7 up front. It's a lot to walk around, and I feel that journey that Moses took with Aaron and the people of Israel. It's been a long journey for me to get here, to this point on the ridge. On my second marriage, a lot of which was faults on both sides. Definitely wasn't God's fault. I've got beautiful children. I got remarried. I got to have another chance at that happiness, and I'm so thankful to that. And I just wish my kids the best and love and peace in life. I hope they feel the strength of the Lord in everything they do. And I hope that the things I've done in my life, as what happened in Moses' day, I hope the things in my life doesn't affect them negatively. I want my things I pass down to be a virtue upon them instead of a curse. This lesson today has probably not been, what you've been used to. I had a long reading, and it's a part of the Bible, Numbers, which a lot of people don't really care to read. But it is a very important part of the story of Moses and the Exodus of the people of Israel. And it's one that's overlooked often, but it's so very important to understand that we have to follow his ways to reach the destination we so want. And don't just be so focused on the destination that you don't live a wonderful journey, a joyful journey. Don't be complaining all the time about your lot in life. Make your place better. Work hard. Love the Lord. Love your family. Love people. Love God. Love your country. Just love. So if you can take anything away from today's lesson, again, it's not exactly the most fun lesson. You got to see a few cool things on the east side of the ridge. We'll show you a lot more of the other parts of the ridge. But if you take one thing from this, it's just to love life that you're given. Love the life that you're given. Because it's the only one you're going to have on this earth. We're going to have, if you're saved, you're going to have a life in the ever after. But this journey we're in now with your family and your loved ones, make the most of it. Don't be petty. Don't be doubtful. Don't be deceitful to others. Don't be unlovable. Be the one that people want to be around, that makes people happy, that lifts people up. And I know I have failed in that in many regards, but I want to be better. I want to be better at being the man that God would want me to be. So if you could all just please pray for me, that I am a better man for my family, for my friends, and for the world. I thank everybody for joining us today. You all are such a blessing to me. Again, I get so much more out of this, I'm sure, than you get. Again, thank you so much. I hope everyone has a blessed day, and if you can, help me say, go Ridge Life.